look at him as a son, and I will, take care of him financially and also of Mildred. So that's my obligation.
In 1997, a housewife and her housemaid gave birth to their child 5 days apart. The wife noticed years later that the child of her housemaid was beginning to look like her husband. What could have been the mystery behind this resemblance? Join us as we dive into the secret life of Arnold Schwarzenegger, especially his hidden child. The secret child, the explicit replica of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was fondly referred to as his father's twin, not only resembled Arnold physically, but also took his father's footsteps as well. Though Joseph grew up out of the public spotlight, he and Arnold eventually formed a close bond. Arnold paid for his education, helped guide him professionally, and the two are now often seen working out together or appearing in public on social media. Joseph has defended Arnold publicly, saying, "I love my dad. We have a great relationship." However, Joseph decided to go by his mother's surname at age 13, after he found out about his true identity. Although he grew up looking like his dad, their relationship has influenced most of his habits and choices in the long run. He realized that he had a lot of things in common with his father, and he's all in on pursuing success with all vigor, just as his father did in his early days. However, such striking resemblance begs the question, why is he termed the secret child? Was he born outside wedlock? What were the circumstances surrounding his birth? Before we uncover the details, let's unravel Arnold Schwarzenegger's life. Early life.
Earliest memories of my dad and my mother having me in bed between both of them during the lightning outside in thunderstorm.
The multi-talented icon, Arnold Alois Schwarzenegger, came into the world in the quiet post-war village of Thal, nestled in the Austrian countryside near Graz. He was born on the 30th of July, 1947, to Gustav Schwarzenegger and Ariella Jadrini. Unlike many children in his day, Arnold's childhood was marked by hardship and recovery. His life began under war, poverty, and stern discipline. His father, Gustav Schwarzenegger, was a former Nazi soldier and a police chief. He was strict, emotionless, and could be regarded as what a typical, heartless person could be. His mother, on the other hand, was kinder, but equally devoted to maintaining order in their household. Arnold had an older brother who was named Meinhard. Although they were brothers and extremely fond of each other, they had no special bond because their paths were obviously different from childhood. Their father made it a point of duty to raise them with an iron fist to create a balance of toughness and obedience in their lives. Arnold admitted that sometimes he had to do hundreds of sit-ups and push-ups before getting his meal when he was only 4 years old. All this training made Arnold tougher, stubborn, and hardened, with no trace of obedience in him. His brother, however, could not take it, so he yielded to the control of his father, making him the family's favorite. Even as a child, Arnold felt like he didn't quite belong. His father openly favored Meinhard, and Arnold felt the sting of being second best. Aside from Arnold's rough relationship with his father, life in the Schwarzenegger home was generally not easy. They were living in abject poverty. There was no plumbing, no refrigerator, and often not enough food. Arnold and his older brother, Meinhard, would sometimes have to fetch water from a well or sleep in the same small room with their parents. It was a life of scarcity and silence. Instead of this hardship breaking him or making him give up on his dreams, it planted a seed of determination deep within. He made up his mind to prove himself to his father by being a beacon of hope for the family. He knew he was going to have the good life that he dreamed of someday. Well, things were about to change for his good, as he believed. Career journey.
Well, what do you think why I'm working out every day? What do you think why I'm pumping iron? Why I'm lifting this hundreds and hundreds of pounds?
Although he was known as a bodybuilder and actor, Arnold never thought he could become any of these things from childhood. His passion was football. From an early age, Arnold was involved in sports, especially soccer. Like many Austrian boys, he played for his local youth team. He wanted to be a renowned football player, but fate had other plans. He had a major encounter that completely changed his mind and erased his passion for football. In the early 80s, when he was just 14 years old, he was out training with friends as usual when he saw a group of men working out in the gym. That was very uncommon to him, but he was fascinated by what he saw. He knew immediately that this was what he was meant to be doing. His passion for football vanished, and all he cares about now is bodybuilding. Coincidentally, around that same time, he stumbled across a magazine featuring Reg Park, a British bodybuilder who had become Hercules on the silver screen. That image sparked a fire in him. The picture of Reg Park was more than just muscles to him. He saw freedom, success, and a pathway out of the small village that seemed to shrink tighter around him every day. At that time, Arnold was sure that he wanted to be the best bodybuilder in the world. Not just good, the best. Then he wanted to go to Hollywood and become a movie star. His dream sounded absurd at that time. It was in the post-war era that most boys dreamed of becoming factory workers or police officers. However, Arnold had a different mindset. He would tape posters of bodybuilders on his walls and visualize his future every day. He began building his body every day, even without proper equipment. He used scrap metal, makeshift weights, and relentless discipline. At that point, his poor background was not enough to stop him. He was willing to use every means to push his body beyond limits, even as a teenager. America was his dream place to be, so he began teaching himself English by reading muscle magazines. While he was engrossed with bodybuilding and developing other aspects of his life, something inevitable happened that completely changed the course of his life. He was only 18 years old when he was drafted into the Austrian army for mandatory service in 1965. This was not what he envisaged about his life, but instead of this turn of events breaking him, it further strengthened his resolve. He didn't let it disrupt his dreams. Instead, he saw it as a stepping stone. While in training, he would sneak out to train at least 2 times a week. As if that was not enough, Arnold took a bigger risk by sneaking from the training to participate in the Junior Mr. Europe bodybuilding competition. He had heard about the competition before going for his military training and had decided that nothing would stop him from participating. While he was in the military environment, his mind was focused on Junior Mr. Europe's bodybuilding competition. That was why he trained secretly, accumulating extra stress just to see his dream come true. His hard work and sacrifices were rewarded as he won Junior Mr. Europe that year. That was his first breakthrough, and he was elated to know that he wasn't wrong for choosing that path. Although he was arrested later and spent a week in military jail when he returned, the punishment never mattered to him. Arnold had tasted victory. The young, stubborn boy from Thal had begun his climb to the top of the world. After winning Junior Mr. Europe at age 18, Arnold Schwarzenegger returned to Austria a changed man. He doubled down on his training with military-like precision because, to him, every training was a step toward immortality. He worked out 6 times in a week, slept 10 hours every night, and avoided alcohol, cigarettes, and other harmful substances. He ate vegetables and generally practiced discipline just because he had tasted a glimpse of the life he wanted, and he wanted even more of it. His flatmates were also bodybuilders, which further encouraged him to do more. Arnold admitted that he went the extra mile to use steroids to boost his energy. At that time, steroids were not illegal, and he claimed to have used just moderate doses. He also introduced his fellow builders at that time to the use of steroids as well. Arnold took a step further in his career as a bodybuilder by competing in the Mr. Universe in 1974. It was such a bold step that no man at his age had ever taken. He trained more and believed that he would be the next Mr. Universe, and fate responded positively to his desires. Arnold became the youngest Mr. Universe winner in history at the age of 20. To prove that he didn't just narrowly win by chance or luck, he went further to win this title 5 more times, making it his 6th time winning the Mr. Universe. After his first win, Arnold felt that Europe had become too small for his ambitions. There was no more hindrance to fulfilling his dream of moving to America. So he relocated to America to start life as a celebrity bodybuilder. Although he had not mastered his spoken English, Arnold settled in Los Angeles in 1968. At that time, California was the mecca of bodybuilding. He came with a heart full of fire and ready to take over the bodybuilding world. In Los Angeles, he met Joe Weider, the publisher of Muscle and Fitness, who became a key mentor and sponsor. Arnold trained at the legendary Gold's Gym in Venice Beach and dominated the bodybuilding world. He dedicated all his time and trained 7 times a week, mornings and evenings. Arnold stopped at nothing until he became the greatest bodybuilder of all time. True to his words, his dream came through between 1970 and 1980. Arnold won Mr. Olympia 7 times within that period, solidifying his place as the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Bodybuilding became his identity all over the world. Although he had reached his destination in the bodybuilding world, he had not yet taken any steps into acting. He said in an interview, "Bodybuilding was my foundation, but I wanted to be more, a star, a household name." Arnold thought that his success and fame in bodybuilding would pave the way for easy access into Hollywood, but he was wrong. He struggled so much to gain entrance into the movie industry. Directors would tell him how his name was too long, his accent too thick, and his body too bulky for acting. Nonetheless, Arnold wasn't willing to give up on his dream just because of that rejection. It rather made him stronger and hungrier for that star power. After trying hard to convince producers and directors to give him a chance, he finally landed a role in the low-budget film Hercules in New York in 1970. The film was far from being a success. It was a flop. His accent was so strong they dubbed over his voice. Although he didn't break out with that single feature, it laid the foundation for a career that stood the test of time. Over the next decade, Arnold slowly built his film resume while studying acting, improving his English, and developing his charm. While learning, he also made cameo appearances in movies, taking small roles and slowly learning the ropes. Then, in 1976, he stunned critics with his performance in Stay Hungry, earning a Golden Globe for Best Newcomer. But the real breakthrough came in 1982 with Conan the Barbarian, which changed the trajectory of his career. The film needed a hero who looked like a myth, and Arnold was the perfect fit. Fierce, quiet, and chiseled from stone. His role as Conan, a fierce and muscular warrior driven by vengeance, survival, and destiny, catapulted Arnold into mainstream Hollywood stardom. Playing that powerful, brooding warrior with few words and commanding presence remains one of his most iconic performances ever. That was the best role that Sword and Sandals epic could have given him, considering his stature. The audience was mesmerized. His look, charisma, and intensity were unforgettable. Arnold went ahead to feature in many other blockbusters, including James Cameron's The Terminator, which was released in 1984, 2 years after his breakthrough with Conan the Barbarian. His role as the terrifying, relentless cyborg assassin from the future defined his career forever. His famous line, "I'll be back," became one of the most iconic movie quotes of all time. The film was a box office smash, and Arnold was catapulted to superstardom. Although directors refused to cast him as a hero in his movies, he didn't mind as long as he was seen and heard. He was never known for being a good person, so he never possessed the character of being a hero. The door of his acting career opened, and movie roles were pouring in without any hindrance. The person who was rejected for his accent, body, and name became a highly sought-after actor. He finally had control over the kind of movie he wanted to star in. Some of his major blockbuster hits were Commando, which premiered in 1985. Another one was Predator, which was released in 1987. After that came The Running Man, which came out in the same year, 1947, From the quiet and lowest town of Thal in Austria, Arnold's sheer determination pushed him to the top of his career, making him the best bodybuilder and the most bankable Hollywood star of his time. Political career.
They only know one thing, and that is to be a party servant rather than to be a public servant. This is what they should be, a public servant, only to think about the public.
As Arnold continued to attain success in all his endeavors, he thought it wise to give back to the society that made him who he was. Being a citizen of California since 1983, he had seen the burden of the people and felt that taking a leadership role would help him tackle some of the problems. His marriage into the John F. Kennedy family also inspired him to go fully into politics. It was on the 6th of August, 2003, that Arnold Schwarzenegger sat in the green room of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and made a shocking announcement in front of a live national audience. "I'm going to run for governor of the state of California." Gasps filled living rooms. News outlets exploded. Was this another Hollywood stunt? They thought it was another episode of a celebrity seeking attention. But Arnold wasn't joking. He meant everything he said. Arnold often said, "America gave me everything." He arrived in the US in 1968 with just a duffel bag and a little more than a dream. He started from bodybuilding to real estate, film, and savvy entrepreneurship. He became a millionaire before ever becoming a movie star. Despite his wealth and fame, Arnold's ambitions weren't solely self-serving. He once hinted at a desire to serve in public office in 1990. He was particularly passionate about education, after-school programs, and physical fitness in schools. He admired politicians like Ronald Reagan, who, like him, had come from Hollywood and turned to public service. He was particularly passionate about education, after-school programs, and physical fitness in schools. He admired politicians like Ronald Reagan, who, like him, had come from Hollywood and turned to public service. By 2003, he was already convinced about his political ambition and was willing to take the initiative. California was in a deep crisis, reeling from a $38 billion budget deficit, rolling blackouts due to an energy crisis, political gridlock in Sacramento, and a recall campaign against incumbent Democratic Governor Gray Davis. Arnold saw an opportunity, and with characteristic confidence, he seized it. His campaign slogan was simple and bold: "I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant." Arnold ran as a Republican, but positioned himself as a centrist outsider. He was tough on spending and taxes, but liberal on social issues like education reform, women's rights, environmental protection, and stem cell research. Some of the pillars that gave him an edge over 135 other candidates were: first, his star power and media mastery. Arnold used his celebrity status to dominate media coverage. Every news outlet covered his appearances, press conferences, and rallies. He was not like other traditional politicians who appeared predictable. He brought humor and charisma to his campaign. Another thing that stood out was that he financed his campaign by himself. Arnold spent $10 million of his own money on the campaign, reducing reliance on donors and showing voters he wasn't bought. Arnold was also humble enough to make a direct appeal to voters. He held large, energetic rallies across the state. Although Arnold seemed to have built a life of success and good name over the years as a bodybuilder and actor, an outburst during his campaign was on the verge of shattering his political ambition. He had done everything he could to win the people's trust, but this dirty revelation about his secret life left no stone unturned. About 15 women came out to publicly accuse the movie star of groping, molestation, and inordinate advances. This was an allegation that not only ruined his political career, but also completely tarnished the reputation he had built over the years. If he fell from grace as a politician, then he had equally failed in every other field. When the question of his character came out in interviews, Arnold called all the allegations made up. He denied everything, stating that his opponent's strategy was to demean his personality because they were threatened by his forthcoming success in the governorship election. Did this accusation affect Arnold's poll results? The people of California made their choice on the 7th of October, 2003, by casting their votes for their desired candidate. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Republican contestant, got 48.6% of the votes, making him the winner. He didn't just win, he dominated. What shocked many people was that the percentage of women who voted was about 46%, proving that he was innocent of the allegations. However, the question is, was he innocent? In November 2003, Arnold was sworn in as the 38th governor of California. Hopes were rekindled, and the state was happy to have found the right person who would bring back the spark that had been lost in their economy, education, and other parastatals. His 2 tenures as governor of California, which ended in 2011, were marked by trials and triumphs. However, in the end, he failed to meet the expectations of the people. He left more problems than he met at the office. When Arnold Schwarzenegger took office as governor of California, he inherited a massive budget crisis of a $38 billion deficit. The first thing he did to handle that situation was push a $15 billion bond measure in 2004 to cover the inherited deficit, which voters approved. This move didn't completely erase the debt. He only borrowed money to stabilize the immediate crisis. California continued to face annual budget shortfalls throughout his governorship. By the time Arnold completed his 8-year tenure in 2011, he had incurred $91 billion in debt. He failed woefully in his political career. He left the office in shame and became a symbol of deceit in the political landscape of America. He tried to go back into acting, but was met with utter disdain and rejection for his character. He lost his reputation, his career, and his personal life was also a mess. Regardless of all, Arnold was still strong and striving for greater heights. Personal life. Although Arnold Schwarzenegger portrayed a life of toughness and strength, a careful look at his personal life has proven that women were his weaknesses over the years. In 1969, he met Barbara Outland, an English teacher with whom he lived until 1974. According to Barbara, Arnold had little understanding of polite society, and that was a turnoff for her. She wasn't ready to be committed to someone who was that mean. In her 1977 memoir, she reported that Arnold was unfaithful to her at the time of their relationship. It was after their relationship had ended that she found out the truth. Arnold met his next lover, Beverly Hills hairdresser's assistant Sue Moret, on Venice Beach in July 1977. According to Moret, the couple had an open relationship. "We were faithful when we were both in LA, but when he was out of town, we were free to do whatever we wanted." After that, Arnold met television journalist Maria Shriver, niece of President John F. Kennedy, at the Robert F. Kennedy tennis tournament in August 1977. He went on to have a relationship with both Moret and Shriver at the same time for 1 year until Moret, who knew of his relationship with Shriver, issued an ultimatum. His relationship with Maria Shriver continued to blossom, and on 26th of April, 1986, they got married in Hyannis, Massachusetts. 3 years later, they had their first daughter, Catherine, followed by Christina, born in 1991, then Patrick, born in 1993. However, something happened when Maria was pregnant with her 4th child, Christopher. She noticed that her housekeeper, Mildred Baena, was also pregnant with a child. She didn't give it much thought because Mildred was married to Rogelio at the time. Maria gave birth to her son Christopher in 1990, and 5 days later, Mildred also gave birth to her son, whom she named Joseph Baena. All 4 of the Schwarzeneggers' children were born in Los Angeles, and everything was moving smoothly until questions arose about the real identity of the housekeeper's son. When he was about 7 to 8 years old, people started noticing that the boy had a striking resemblance to Arnold Schwarzenegger, more than he did to his foster father, Rogelio. The resemblance became more striking as the years went by, leaving no doubt that there was something hidden. Maria asked her husband several times to confirm the rumors to her, but he always denied ever having an affair and that Joseph was not his son. It was not until he left his political office in 2011 that he finally let the cat out of the bag. At least he had nothing to lose at that time anymore. The Los Angeles Times confirmed on the 2nd of May, 2011, that Arnold Schwarzenegger had fathered a son, Joseph, with an employee in their household, Mildred Patricia Patty Baina. At the time of this revelation, Joseph was more than 14 years old and was not only taking after his father in looks, but also character. Arnold revealed to the Times, "After leaving the governor's office, I told my wife about this event, which occurred over a decade ago." However, he did not mention that he had confessed to his wife only after she had confronted him with the information, which she had done after confirming with the housekeeper what she had suspected about the child. Mildred Baena was employed by the family for 20 years and retired in January 2011 before the shocking revelation. The pregnant Baena was working at home while Shriver was pregnant with the youngest of the couple's 4 children. When asked if he was aware of this all along, Arnold said that it took 7 or 8 years before he found out that he had fathered a child with his housekeeper. It was not until the boy started looking like him that he put things together. He had secretly taken financial responsibility for the child from that moment and continued to provide support. A radio report in 2010 revealed that Arnold bought a new 4-bedroom house with a pool for Baena and their son in Bakersfield, California. Baena separated from her husband, Rogelio, a few months after Joseph's birth. She filed for divorce in 2008. Arnold made sure he was present in Joseph's life and never made him feel like he was the problem. However, when asked in January 2014, "Of all the things you are famous for, which are you least proud of?" Schwarzenegger replied, "I'm least proud of the mistakes I made that caused my family pain and split us." Yes, after the world knew the truth about his affair and secret child in 2011, his family never remained the same. His wife, Maria, was shattered and devastated. His children were disappointed by his actions. He became more ashamed of himself for the mess he created while in political office and even at home. He failed as a politician and even failed as a father, husband, and public icon. It was one of the biggest scandals of all time. Did they ever get through this? Not at all. Things only became even worse after the public announcement. His wife, Maria Shriver, filed for a divorce after learning the truth from her husband. The divorce settlement took longer than they imagined. For nearly 1 decade, they couldn't agree. In 2021, it was officially finalized. Under the divorce judgment, Arnold kept their home in Brentwood, while Shriver purchased a new home nearby so that the children could travel between their parents' homes while they shared custody of the 2 youngest children. Arnold came under fire after the initial petition did not include spousal support and a reimbursement of attorney's fees. However, he claimed this was not intentional and that he signed the initial documents without having properly read them. He filed amended divorce papers to remedy it, and by 2021, Shriver finalized their divorce after 10 years of separating. It was not an easy decision for the 2 parties, but they felt that it was the best choice at the moment. Joseph Baena. Just like his father, Joseph Baena is a bodybuilder. He trains regularly and shares his workouts online, even recreating some of Arnold's iconic poses. He is also pursuing a career in acting, appearing in small films, and aspiring to build his own legacy in Hollywood. Aside from that, he works as a real estate agent in Los Angeles. One of Joseph's milestones was graduating from Pepperdine University with a degree in business. Although he seems to be interested in all his father's career paths, he said he's working really hard to create his own success, not through his father's name, but through his own hard work. Hence, he chose to build his career under his mother's last name. Joseph's step-siblings have refused to accept him as their brother. A report revealed that they seemingly snubbed their younger brother, Joseph, at their father's premiere. They refused to include him in their photograph. making their father pose with him alone. Despite the scandal surrounding his birth, Joseph Baena is often praised for his grounded attitude, humility, and work ethic. He has not publicly criticized either parent and seems focused on forging his own identity. He has a great relationship with his father, and he's happy. The pain of a hidden scandal can break trust, break relationships, and cause irreparable damage to the lives involved. However, in what looks like a dark night for Arnold Schwarzenegger, Joseph Baena became a beacon of light. What have you learned from this story? Share with us in the comments. Don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.